Whoa.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Mossy Oak Fishing Recap right here from the very last tournament of the year. Finally, the year that never ends is finally coming to an end. Right? It's 1st of November, actually getting toward the middle of November now. It's time to go home and get ready to do some deer hunting. But awesome tournament here at Lake Fork. You know, this is the second tournament I've actually fished here on Lake Fork. Always loved coming here and got out of here this week with a 12th place finish. So feels really good to end the year on a high note. You guys know you've rode along for the whole deal. I've had highs and lows this year and a lot of middle of the pack finishes, you know, but thankfully here at the end we finished on a high note. Like I said, moved up to 25th in Bassmaster Angler of the Year standing. So made the 2021 Bassmaster Classic, and you know, as an angler, making that classic is definitely the top goal every year. Obviously we have our eyes on Angler of the Year, we have our eyes on winning every single tournament, but as an angler you want to make it to that Bassmaster Classic because that's a career making event. You can't win it if you're not there. So you know, if a sort of an off year for me, I feel like, and we come out with an AOY finish of 25th place, that's pretty darn good. I'll take it. So, you know, like I said, coming into this event at Lake Fork, there's never been a Bassmaster event here in the fall. So we really didn't know what to expect. I expected it to be tough because Chickamauga was tough, Guntersville was tough, the open last week at Cherokee was tough. Everywhere this time of year, it's just pretty darn tough. And that proved to be the case here at Lake Fork. Now, Patrick Walters, he's on a whole nother level. He's fishing a whole different lake, I think. He's gonna blow this one out. But, you know, if you look on down the leaderboard, it was pretty darn tough. I think 10 or 11 pounds a day got a check here, and any other time of the year at Lake Fork, I mean, there's 10 and 11 pounders swimming everywhere out there. But, you know, I really felt good this week. I got onto a little something in practice. The second day of practice, I started fishing some boat docks. Tons of standing timber in this lake. There's some grass, and then there's a lot of boat docks. And I started fishing those docks. The second day of practice, I went down one stretch up in Birch Creek, and I caught 2 or 3 fish pretty quick on a jig. I'll show you guys the jig in a minute. And then I rolled my hook over and I went down that stretch of docks, probably 12 or 15 docks, and every single dock had a fish on it, and some of them felt like big ones. I mean, when they thump that jig and you just feel them bear down on that rod, you can tell it's a dang good fish. So that got me pretty excited. What I didn't know was just how much pressure that stretch of docks would get the first day of the event. So, you know, obviously, with all those guys fishing that stretch of docks, I kind of just had to start running new water, and that's what I did. And I figured out another way to get some bites, and that was throwing a drop shot around those docks. I feel like docks get fished here a lot this time of the year. This lake gets a ton of pressure, much like a lot of the Tennessee River fisheries. So I started fishing those docks with a drop shot rig. And in doing that, I think I was just showing them something finesse, something they don't see around those docks a lot, and man, they would eat it up. Well, let's talk about my setups a little bit. First off, let's talk about the fun one, the jig. I was flipping just a 1/2 ounce jig. It's an Arky style head. It's got a big heavy weed guard in it. If I could find shallow docks 2 to 3 feet deep max that had some wood on them, it was almost an automatic bite every time. And one of the things that really helped me out, like I said, there's a lot of timber in this lake. I tried to find docks that it may take 10 or 15 minutes to idle back to, but you know, I use Google Earth a lot, and some of the places I went to I wouldn't catch one, but some of the places I went to I would catch one. Those hard to reach docks were really a key deal for me. But 1/2 ounce jig, X-Zone lures, muscleback finesse crawl on the back. I wanted a pretty fast fall, and I wanted a pretty small profile on that jig. I mean, that's still it's got a big beefy hook in it, but I trimmed the skirt down a good bit, threw it on 20-pound vicious 100% fluorocarbon. And that there's no funner, well, there may be a funner way to catch them on top water or something like that, but I have confidence when I have that big jig in my hand, especially when it gets to November, December, January, February. If the water is down around 60 degrees or below, if I can get some bites on that jig, I've got 100% confidence, and I feel like on a big fish fishery like this, any crack of the rod can be a monster.
Couldn't cast it about 10 foot. Uh-oh. Big one. Big one.
A lot of fun with that. But the kind of the sneaky little deal that I would start out doing, a lot of times those fish would bite the jig better on up in the day. But first thing in the morning, I could get them to bite a drop shot. And I know that sounds weird, and everybody thinks when you're throwing a drop shot on a spinning rod, you have to throw 6 or 8 pound line, and it's a real lightweight presentation, and that's not necessarily the case. The third day, I actually caught a 7 pound, 15 ounce, right in an 8 pounder off of a boat dock on this setup right here.
Jumpy, so that goes big. That's a stud there. That's a stud there.
I've got 10 pound vicious no fade yellow braid and 12 pound vicious Pro Elite fluorocarbon for my leader. So that 12 pound fluorocarbon leader, the water's a little bit dirty, so the fish are not line shy, and that 12 pound leader just gave me confidence that if I hooked a big one, I would have a little bit more leeway than if I was using 8 or even 10 pound leader. So definitely keep that in mind next time you're around some docks or something. I was using a 3/0 Mustad grip pin edge, a little finesse hook. I was Texas rigging that drop shot. That's an X-Zone Lures Deception Worm, plum color. That plum color, I always like that in the fall. Works really well, and a 3/16 ounce Mustad Titan X drop shot weight. But that was the setup on that. Like I said, that was just a way for me to get some bites, but I ended up catching a very important fish on day number 3 on that drop shot rig. So, I don't know that I would have had that really good finish that I had without the drop shot. So that was a key deal for me. I did catch one fish the first 2 days on a chatterbait also with a little mini slammer on the back of it. But all in all, a fun week, been a good year. I'm glad it's coming to an end. I'm headed to West Tennessee this next week to go deer hunting for a couple of days with some friends of mine. So definitely glad to wrap the year up, glad to make that Bassmaster Classic. Just want to thank all my sponsors, everybody that supports me. Been an awesome year. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back next year, right here on the Mossy Oak Fishing Recap.